Hello, everyone. I start with a question my friend Matt Gallard uses quite often at the start of the presentation. So, who knows me? Okay, who is traveling already, touring, camping with the recumbents? Good. So, my name is Honza Gala. I am recumbent rider. I've been riding recumbents since 2003, I guess. I am also a marketing guy at ASUP. I'm running also recumbent.news, a magazine about recumbents. So I was asked to give a presentation here about the camping gear for recumbents, or recumbent, traveling. And why I was asked, because I have done, mainly with my wife, Eliška, we have done quite some tours in the past. So I will go quickly through the tours so you can trust my opinions into what kind of gears you may want for a bike traveling on a recumbent. And then I will not dive, but I will go into some of the gear I use or I think you may want to use on your travels. So this is a trip basically which it didn't started with this one, but at the very beginning we were traveling on a recumbent tandem, a prototype of the ASUP Twin. So this tour, the very first one was from the Czech Republic to Athens for the Olympic Games in 2004, but we had a serious crash in Romania after 14 days, so we never reached Athens at that time. A year after, we were riding from Slovakia to Crimea Peninsula, at that time still in Ukraine, so we could enjoy it. This is Crimea, this is Yalta here down there, the coastline of the Black Sea. We really had a great time. It was about 2 months of riding, and then we traveled back home using a train, which was kind of tricky, but we could do it. That time it was really low-cost traveling. We needed like $2 per day per both of us. We were students, didn't have more money than that, so that was tough sometimes. We could even hitchhike with a bike like this, and we hitchhiked successfully that time. Did 99% of the nights were wild camping. And year after that, we went to Balkan countries, and we did Albania, Kosovo, Montenegro, and Macedonia. And Albania became our favorite country for a couple of years. So we were in Albania like 6 or 7 times. In the next 6 years, we were guiding tours there, bike tours. So we had, it was a difficult tour. It is a lot of mountain riding there, very bad roads, crazy heat most of the time. But the nature and people there and all that, that was really nice. We hitchhiked here as well when it was too tough to ride. 2 or 3 years after we did, we knew we will have kids. So this is the last tour, the serious one. And then we will need to wait a couple of years. And we knew that out of the crazy countries with the kids, we will move into some more civilized, like Western Europe or so, at least for a couple of years then before they get old enough to understand the circumstances of the developing countries. So this is India, the Himalayas there in Ladakh. We were there for about 20 days cycling. I was on a two-wheeler. My wife was on a trike, so I have the experience with bikes and trikes as well. Again, it was a hilly or mountainous terrain. Of course, if you are in the Himalayas, you expect that. The difference compared to Albania was that in Albania you are climbing for 3 to 5 hours. Here, this one pass took us 2 days to climb. So that was like 50 miles all the way up like this. What you see is like, this is like 1/5 of the climb here. We did some shorter rides as well. This was in winter time in Croatia. Shorter, not expeditions, but travels. That was maybe 10 days or so. When you need to get there, that's always a bit tricky. We went by train, so both bikes were packed here, and we used the trailer to move them around the train stations. And then in 2013, I did, with my friend and colleague Karel, we did the Sun Trip, the first edition of the solar bike race from France to Kazakhstan. That was 5,000 miles. So this is a trike experience and an electric or solar-powered, solar and human-powered experience we had. Again, we went. Those are Alps in France. This is Ukraine. They told us that it's gonna be all hot and dry, and it was not so much hot, but a lot of rains. We had rains in Kazakhstan. We had rains everywhere, but it was dry in the Czech Republic for all 53 days we were out. The first rain which came was when we were parking our car going from the airport. We were parking next to our house and it started raining at that time. So we renamed ourselves from Czech Solar Team to Czech Rain Team. That's Astana. We ended up as a fourth, and on the fourth place as the first double-man team to come. And nowadays, the kids are already old enough, so we start short tours with our kids. Janek is 9 years old, Julia is 12 at the time, so we did several 4 or 5 days long trips in the recent years. And we have a new puppy now, so so we have to have a trailer. Kids are not carrying too much stuff, so I have a cargo trailer behind me as well. So although it's not Himalayas or Albania, it's same difficult or tough. So if we start about talking about the camping gear we have used, or why I think you may think about some of the gear for yourself if you want to travel. I think the crucial question at the very beginning is, what do you want to ride? Where do you want to ride? What kind of level of comfort you want to have? And it starts, of course, also with the question whether you want to ride a two-wheeler or a trike, because things will change a little. It also starts with a question whether you have an electric motor or you don't have an electric motor. If you have an electric motor, of course, you have to care about, where will you charge the bike, the battery, usually 2 batteries for traveling from my experience. So every night you have to stay somewhere where you can charge the bike. So that would be campsite or the hotel. Or you can convert the trike or the bike to a solar powered, which is still kind of do-it-yourself stuff because there is not a easy to buy, off-the-shelf solution. But it is doable. It's still easier and easier these days. And then you can be on an electric bike fully self-supported or self-sufficient. So you don't need to have campsites and hotels. You can do wild camping. But when you have an electric bike, and that's the advantage, I think, is that you can carry more stuff and all the equipment of the bike can be more like robust, comfortable, functional, because if it weighs, I'm in kilos, so if it weighs 8, 12 pounds more or even 20, it's still, the motor can do it, and just the range shrinks, but it shrinks like very little. So if it's 20 pounds more, what would it be? Maybe 5% less than what you get, something like that. If you are not in a very mountainous terrain. So those are the questions at the very beginning. And then, again, camping means that you are staying in a tent, either wild camping or in the campsites. But traveling can easily mean that you go from a hotel to a hotel. I have done that several times already, like with Calvin the last time we were there. Or not the last time, but when I guided some tours in Europe with recumbents, and then you can easily do it from hotel to hotel and things get easier. The only thing what you need to make sure is that the hotel can accept the bikes and the storage, or you have to accept that it will stand outside, which I would not recommend most of the time. On our tours, we did some hotels. Sometimes it was not looking good. Like this time in India, we even had a tent built inside the room because it was that dirty there. But it was the only option there because the valley was very narrow and we couldn't find a place to sleep outside. So tent. Because camping means tent, at least from my point of view. For many years, we have used, we have a very good Czech-based company making tents. So we use this one, and then nowadays we have a bigger one as well. What is important, I think, for bike touring, it is different than when you carry everything in your backpack when you are doing hiking tours. So you can have somewhat bigger tents, and we really enjoyed this one with 2 entrances. So we always have, me and my wife, we can always get off the tent easily through our own entrance. There was also enough place inside for the luggage, and so one side was for the luggage, the other side was for cooking when it was a bad weather outside. So this is why we like to have 2 entrances, and I don't know how they call it in English, this space. Also, we are only 2 of us, but we had a tent for like 2.5 or 3, so you have a bit more space inside. My friends, I have a lot of cycle touring friends, and 2 of them were really cycling crazy tours in Tibet, China, South America, very lightweight stuff, because everything was really lightweight. only the tent. There were two of them, and they used four-man tent because they said, if we end up in a snowstorm or a rainstorm for 4 days, and we have to stay in the tent 4 days, then in two-man tent, we would kill each other. So when we have four-man tent, we can survive that as well. So a little bigger means more comfort, more space, and you can kind of carry it on the bike, even without a motor. With the motor, you can have also, again, bigger one. Nowadays, when we are four of us and also the dog, we have much bigger tent. This one looks huge, but it's not so huge. We basically sleep here. That's like my size from here to here. And then there is a room where we can cook easily. We can stow all the bags. And nowadays with the little dog, we have the trailer park here without the wheels, and she sleeps inside the trailer, which is convenient. So it looks like this. You see, it's not that big, but it's of course like double the size what we carried before. With an electric trike, say, if you have a tent like this, you can park a trike inside, maybe even two. There are even bigger tents, of course, so if you feel your trike needs to be protected, you can find tents that are big enough for the protection as well. And then we talk about, so we have tents, then the mattress. The mattress is crucial for the comfort in the night. When I was young, and I hope I'm still young, but younger than now, I slept on a mattress like this thick, so no mattress basically. And the older I get, the thicker it is. But the thing is, nowadays, you have the self-inflatable mattresses, which are nice, but there are also just inflatable mattresses, which you need to either breathe in, sorry, I don't know the right English word, or you have a kind of, the sack for the bag for the mattress can work as a pump, you know, so you can pump it, and then it is much thicker and it's still very, very light. The only issue with the inflatable mattresses is that they are pretty loud when you sleep on it and you move. It's like really loud, most of them. So if you have somebody else sleeping next to you on a mattress which doesn't make the sound, or even in the next tent, they are like angry. So we do also like hiking tours, only fathers and kids, with my kids every summer. And we bought a very lightweight, I bought a very lightweight inflatable mattress, so I don't need to carry all the stuff in my backpack, on my shoulders. And the year after, they kicked me out with the mattress. Like, it's terrible to sleep with you or next to you, you know, just don't use it. Other thing is that quite a lot of mattresses nowadays get either shorter, so you have your feet without a mattress, or they are shaped like this to save the weight. I don't like it, because then you may have two of them next to each other and you have spaces here, and it doesn't fit into the tent, it's still moving. So I think for the bike, and then again, if you have an electric solution, I would recommend not like a square-shaped mattress. You can get very nice thick mattresses. This is inflatable from Thermarest, which, you know, again, for an electric bike, this brings a lot of comfort to camping. This is how it looks in our tent. So we have four of them like this. You see mine here, and then kids still have the thin one, so we don't need to carry all that stuff. And I use the seat pad from the bike as a pillow. So that's an easy solution. Always you have to think about the the mesh for the trike or the seat pad to cover it and protect it from the rain and the wet it gets through the night. So either have a cover or just take it into the tent with you. With the self-inflatable and inflatable mattresses, I strongly recommend to use high-end brands, high quality, more expensive, because it's very easy. The air starts to leak from the valve or somewhere else or whatever. They are easy to, puncture them. If you have a Thermarest, C2 Summit, whatever, there are climate, like high-end brands, they work much better, especially the Thermarest. I have had tons of self-inflatable or inflatable mattresses, and this is the only secure option. Or you can nowadays, with anything electric, you can purchase a little bed like this. It's pretty quick to build it. It's not that heavy. I think it would be around 3-4 pounds probably, and then you don't need the mattress and you have quite a comfortable sleeping. Sleeping bags, we have used for years a synthetic insulation inside, which is cheaper, but again, it's much heavier and much bigger in terms of the volume when you pack it. So the last years I use a very thin down sleeping bag. The down sleeping bags years ago were used mostly for the winter time, hikes, expeditions. Nowadays they do very thin one, like summer versions. It's very comfy. I really like it inside. I use the Nature Hike brand, so it's not so expensive. And before it was like this size sleeping bag. Now I'm on maybe this size and like 1/3 of the weight, which is nice. But they are like 2 times more expensive, so you need to value that. So that's about kind of sleeping quickly. Then another crucial part of camping is cooking. Again, it's about the level of comfort you want to have while cooking. Of course, you can visit just restaurants and cafes on the way. When we did the sun trip, we hardly cooked because that was spending time and our power. So we really used just the restaurants along the way. It was cheap because most of the countries were like the Eastern European or Western Asian countries. So that was not a problem. When we were in the student age or later, we really, if you want to travel for €2 or US dollars per day in 2 people, you have to cook everything from ground up, from the basic stuff. So we even had a pan, and I think at that time like 2 or 3 pots and all the different equipment for cooking. I remember a customer of us, he even carried a wok pan because it was important for him to cook for himself as a vegetarian, I guess. So it's what you feel is needed. For many years, I have used the gas stove, mostly because in the developing countries, you cannot easily buy the propane cans, or they are of different thread, size, pressure, whatever stuff. So this is the easiest way. You just fill a petrol in it or a gas on a gas station. The issue is that it's really This one looks nice and clean because it's new, but then it gets really dirty, it's smelly. It was not easy for Eliška to operate it because you need to know how to work with it. We had to repair it so many times. So again, there are pros and cons using stuff. Other advantage of the gas stove is that you can easily fly with it, because you can't fly with the propane cans, So there you just take this bottle, it's empty, you clean it, and it's okay to fly with it. But then later, we bought a propane stove like this one with an adapter that works on two main European systems for the cans. This external burner is fine because it's sitting on the ground, so it's stable. There is not a risk of falling down of a boiling water and so on. So that's why we like it. But of course, it has this tube and it's much bigger and heavier. So you may want to use for maybe morning coffee only or some not so much cooking. Small and lightweight stuff like this MSR rocket. And then there are the pots you use. Some of them have this at the bottom, this kind of double side walls. So the flame can get in and it doesn't lose the heat by the wind and so on, but you have to have a proper stove and the pot together. If you don't, like we don't have a set that works together, you see it's like 30% or 50% off, and you lose the heat. So in a perfect ideal condition, the stove would be all the way in that pot, and then it looks something like this, where it fits exactly. Then the issue is that you can't use this stove, this pot on any other thing, or you can't use it on, when you have a fire sometimes. We sometimes cooked on fire just because we liked the atmosphere and the smell and so on. So with a special pot like this, it's much harder to do it. So that's our cooking set nowadays. So two pots only, and then we have 4 of those for ourselves and the kids, and the stove and some spoons and knives and stuff like this. You see that we got into more comfort recently, so we even purchased these little seats here that are 1 pound each or so. Of course, when you have 4, it's 2 pounds, then it's get heavier, but I started to hate the fact that you always sit on the ground or try to lie somewhere, trying to eat, especially when you do like wild camping, or we were get used to cook breakfast, lunch, and a dinner as well. Then for the lunch, you never had a perfect place to cook. So that was cooking. And of course, there would be some other things to discuss for the camping gear, and we can dive into every single item deeper and deeper, why to use it and why not. But I thought I would give you a few tips on the equipment. Headlamp is crucial. You can have a cell phone nowadays with a lantern or a light, which is good, but you can hardly use the phone and cook with your 2 hands, or pack sleeping bag or whatever. So headlamp is a good stuff. You can have headlamps like this one from Phoenix. You can use it, attach it to the helmet as well, so you can use it as a front light on your bike as well, or there are different holders for the bike as well, so that helps. And I recommend to have it USB, like with the Akku version, so no batteries, like no changeable batteries you would buy one by one, but have it with a USB-C or so to charge it. Also, for longer tours, I always recommend, instead of a bike tool like this, which is like basic only, if you are longer time on the road, you get into more trouble here and there, and you need to do some more serious repairs or maintenance time to time. So it is better to have something bigger, especially in my opinion with the longer Allen keys, so you can easier get into some of the screws. Also, you may have, different racks, or the bags are sitting on the racks and you don't want to remove all the bags just to get into one screw, and that helps then. Of course, all the other stuff to repair the tubes, the puncture, and a chain tool is necessary as well. And then I use this adjustable wrench, which is better, bigger, you have more power, so this is nice. I remember one tour we were thinking also, we were carrying some rivets in order to be able to repair stuff. And I was like, oh, how I would use them when I don't have a hammer. So I said, okay, I would have a stone and use a stone. That was a perfect idea. Then we needed to use it because the tire cracked, and I had to use the rivets to somehow put it together, at least for next 2 days or so. And we were in the middle of Ukraine, in the middle of the fields, and I was walking around for like half an hour looking for a stone. You think that stones are everywhere, but they are not. But that's the nice part of traveling as well, because you learn to improvise and do stuff differently and finish the task always. So the wrench, adjustable wrench, is a useful stuff. Then nowadays the electronics. We can go into electronics, we can go into power banks and lights and cameras and drones and things like that. The perfect thing nowadays is that you can have most of the equipment you want to carry charged from the USB-C. If you have USB-C and if you optimize all your stuff for the USB-C, the things get much easier when you get to the hotel or campsite or everywhere else. It's faster than the old USB-A, and the modern drones, they can be charged by the USB-C. Phones, of course, if you have a laptop or iPad or whatever, they all can be charged by the USB-C. Matt Gallett, he says, I am charging in the hotels only the power banks, and then while riding, I charge during the day the equipment I need. Because otherwise you need to wake up in the night and change the things, and so that gets much easier nowadays. I use two 10,000 milliampere power banks nowadays, and then I have a fast charger for that when we are in a campsite. I also have a dynamo in the hub, the dynamo hub, that can charge the phone or the power bank as well. The issue is that the batteries and the equipment is getting bigger and bigger and more capacity, and the phones are getting used to the bigger batteries. So it's not that the battery would be bigger and it would last longer, but it still lasts 1 day, say, or 2 days maximum working, but the battery is bigger. That means that 10 years ago, when the Dynamo Hub was able to charge the phone fully within a day, it was like 1 kilometer was 1%. And then my friend bought a new phone and he was like, oh, the Dynamo is not working anymore because it takes 3 kilometers for 1%. And I said, so how big the battery inside the phone is? And he said, oh, it's 3,000 milliamperes. And how much did you have before? Oh, it was 1,000 milliampere hours. And I said, see, that's it. It's just, that's the difference. So you don't get so much from the Dynamo nowadays. It's good for lights. It's perfect for lights. Love it. It is good for charging the phone. And if it's only the phone, it works if you do 60, 70, 80 kilometers a day or something, you can be sustainable. But with all the other equipment, there is no way. You can have a solar panel as well. That works nice if it's big enough. Again, you have to calculate what you need. And then, of course, time to time, a powerful USB-C charger, and you get the power you need, and you can charge things quickly. Yeah, and then the last thing I have here basically is how to pack it, And so you have all the stuff you need, and then you need to load the bike. In the years, I have used all different types of bags and styles of bags, and we toured a lot with trailers as well. I like trailers. It was also based on what we needed on the tours, So when we were in Himalayas, planned some hiking tours, we had to have a backpack for each of us. And then you want to have a larger backpack because you need to have a camp, the tent and sleeping bag inside and so on. So this doesn't look professional and nice, but it serves the purpose. We also use the recumbent specific bags underneath the seats. These are the Ortlieb bags, which are no longer in production. But over the years, I will explain that later. So these are the shape recumbent specific bags that can, use the advantage of the shape underneath the seat, either of a bike or a trike. And that time we had a camera and stuff inside this box, which I needed to have quickly available. So there couldn't be anything on top of this. So that's why we had the trailer. This was Albania and Kosovo. Or on the tandem, you also need to have a lot of luggage for 2 people. So that time we had a bag here as well, and bags on all the places possible. Nowadays, I use the standard, bike bags on the side. You have usually like 2 different sizes. They differentiate like back, the rear bags. These are back rollers from Ortlieb, or you have the front bags, which are smaller, should be on the front wheels, but on the recumbents and trikes also you get one here, and then the smaller bag is usually here underneath the seat. I like better the shape of the single bag than the long bag like this, the recumbent bags, because the recumbent bags are very difficult to pack. If you have a sleeping bag of this shape and the bag is like getting narrower, there is very difficult way how to pack the stuff inside. And it was always, the shape was always like strange and not nice. I like clean looking packing, say. So this is what we use now with the external bags here for, I use those for tools and tubes and pumps and things like that. So these were the Oertli bags. You can still buy bags, I don't know, from HP Velo, do they still have it? Maybe there are Arkel bags, like recumbent shape, size. So I know several travelers that use those because the nice thing on them is that you have just 2 bags to carry, not 4 of them. So you can just grab them on the airport or train station or into the hotels. You just grab 2, not 4, because then it gets difficult. But that is an advantage I don't need, say, or I can live without them. So these are the Oertli bags, the bag rollers. What I like on Oertli, or basically on Vaude or other waterproof bags, is that they are waterproof. And you don't need to pack the sleeping bag into additional bag inside. You just can, fill it in, and you are safe. Other advantage of the waterproof bags is that they are usually more durable than the non-waterproof ones, which is maybe even bigger advantage than the waterproofness itself, because I'm not that guy who would really take care of my stuff. I can just throw it there, here, whatever is needed quickly. So these get, it's more difficult to break them or damage them or tear them or whatever. So waterproof stuff. You see the front bags on an upright bike here. As I said, you can use the smaller bag on recumbents as well. Then we used a lot of the trailers. It was mostly because of the tandem riding. So when you are on a tandem, it's difficult to pack 2 people on one bike. If you make it, then the issue is that the bike is very heavy. It's a bit more difficult to steer it and handle it everywhere. So I really like trailers. Usually on recumbents, and the recumbent manufacturers do not recommend or even say it's forbidden to use a single wheel trailers. Mostly because you have a rear suspension and the fork is under a lot of stress from the riding only, and then you add the additional crazy stress of the single wheel trailer. So it's kind of forbidden. Also, when you have a single wheel trailer, you have to load it, the weight capacity is lower, and you really have to care about how high you have the load and whether it's centered and so on. Otherwise, it really impacts the riding characteristics more on the 2-wheelers, but also it can impact the trike behaving, say. So I like the 2-wheelers more. We use most of the time 2-wheelers on my trips. We have used this Burley Nomad several times. What I don't like on it is that it's just fabric. If you push too much stuff in it, it gets like bulky, and then the fabric rips, the wheel rips the fabric. So it was like a lightweight stuff. The last couple of years we use much heavier, of course, but again, preferences, much heavier trailer. This one is from Edu, but fully suspended with brakes. That's an overkill for a non-e-powered bike. If you have an e-bike, this is a great trailer. Expensive, but having a suspension and brakes and all that very nice stuff here, the rails you have in vans and so on, that's all very nice. But if you don't have a motor, it is crazy heavy, you know. So I have my own as well, which is much lighter but still much heavier than the Nomad. What I like on it is that you can fill it any, you know, really full, and it still has the shape. You can use this one as a table. You know, it's easier to cook. When we have now the little dog, we are not afraid that she would get into the stove or fire or boiling water or so. Also, the kids are still, you know, there are times they don't pay attention so much as we would wish, so that is nice on the trailer. That's how we pack it inside. What we like as well on the trailers, and that's why I like it so much over the years, is that you can use different plastic boxes inside, which makes things easier and organized, or more organized. Also, compared to bag, if you want to find something in the bag, you always have to, you know, get everything out and find something in the trailers. It's usually much more organized and everything is more visible, say. So we use those boxes, and then we have also kind of organizers for the bags. There are dedicated organizers for the Ortlieb bag rollers, but you probably can find some others somewhere else. So you can have organizers of the exact shape of the bag, which makes the things easier, you know, like pants, socks, and then maybe beer. Whatever. Beer, no, that's not enough big. Yeah. The only thing is that it's the same color, so you get confused. I would like to have some kind of you know, marking on it. Some of the travelers, I get back to the bags, some of the travelers, they get used to have signs on the bags directly, like food, you know, Honza's clothes, Eliška's clothes, whatever, so it's easier for them then. Or you can use dry bags. Those are different size bags, everything to throw in. Don't forget the dirty clothes. It's good to have a waterproof or smelly-proof, say, bag for your dirty clothes. Then, and you don't realize then that when you pack everything clean and washed, and then the first day you say, oh, okay. What will I do with it? Okay, this is one of the latest recommendations from me. If you need to attach something to the bike, it's better, from my point of view, to use straps instead of bungee cords, because the bungee cord is always like, it's either a little dangerous, but the thing is that it's always bungee. So you tight it, but there is still like place to move, space to move. And when you are on bumpy road or you hit something, we have lost things several times. So when I found in Greece on the road a strap and I started to use straps, I was like, oh, that's the thing, you know. Nowadays you can also buy kind of rubber outdoor straps of different lengths for attaching different stuff on different places. So this is what the modern outdoor guys uses nowadays. And then, just for fun, sometimes you also need to pack the bikes into the planes, or we used buses with the tandem, we used trains with the tandem, we were everywhere possible. It takes time, like disassemble a tandem when we were in Crimea Peninsula, it was basically a day. Then we had 3 huge bags, we loaded them in the train, changed train in Kiev at that time, reached the next destination, and then it took me 8 hours to assemble the bike back. But if you are on a bike tour which lasts, a couple of weeks, maybe one day here or there, doesn't matter so much. So flying is also nice, is doable with trikes and bikes. We flew in with one just recently, pretty easy. You just need to find the box. If the box is not of the proper size, you can tape them together, 2 boxes, or cut them or whatever, or you just pack it with the foil. A recommendation would be you should know how heavy you can be into the plane. So check that first. And you cannot fly with electric bikes or with batteries. You can send the batteries separately. It costs more money, but it's doable. But you cannot fly with the batteries in personal planes, say. And just last one joke, when you see it here packed, then in the scanner it looks like this and this. And that's everything. Thank you.